Hey guys, welcome back to Turn Pages. My name is Jeremy, and today is going to be a very special video because I'm going to be doing a series review for my favorite TV show of all time. But before I get into that, I want to apologize for being gone for the past almost 3 months. It's been rough, with the holidays coming around and getting sick, and it's just been a very rough couple of months for me. So I just apologize for that, but I am going to be more active on this channel every single Sunday and Monday. I will be doing new videos every week, kind of getting back to that. And my eye wants to itch in the middle of this video. Don't you just hate that when you're trying to do something and then your eye... I have really long eyelashes, like ridiculously long, and so they bother me constantly. Now this eye wants to do something stupid. I'm really sorry about this. It's really kind of embarrassing, but yeah, you can't control your eyelashes when they want to get in your eye or something. So today we are going to be talking about the wonderful and favorite TV show that is Merlin, the BBC series Merlin, also known as The Adventures of Merlin. And it's amazing. So it's my favorite TV show. Out of every TV show that I have binge watched and completely watched from beginning to end, this one has stayed with me the most. I have been watching this show all the time for like 10 years. I started watching the show when I was in high school, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I want to watch that show again. And so I asked my sister if she could get the series for me for my birthday last year, and she did, and it came with all 5 seasons. It's wonderful. They only got to make 5 seasons. It is what it is. It's very sad that that's how it had to happen, but once you watch it, you kind of realize that they told a really great story in only 5 seasons. So we're going to be kind of going along season by season and talking about a few things. So this is the first season. This is what it looks like. So we're going to talk about the basics of what the show is. This show is set in the medieval times. It is a story that is loosely based on the Arthurian legends about King Arthur, the Knights of the Round Table, and the Wizard Merlin. For all intended purposes, there's a few things changed, quite a bit of things changed. Which you have to know that in the legends, Merlin and Arthur meet when Merlin is an old man. He's like old and gray. He very getting off the white going on. But in this, you kind of turn back the clock and you change a few things. So we see Arthur as he is a prince. He is not the king of Camelot. He's not the famous king and noble, good-hearted man that we know him to be. He's very arrogant. He's very self-absorbed. And Merlin's very innocent, very barely knows how it, he barely knows how to use his magic. Okay, well, no, he knows how. He just, you guys know what I mean. Trying to explain, it's not really working. But he knows he has these great powers, but he doesn't know a purpose, and yet he's in a place where magic is outlawed, and so that makes him even more confused until he meets a dragon named Kilgara, which we will find out his name later in the series, but since this is the review, I thought I would just go ahead and share it with you. We find out that he does have a destiny, and it is his destiny to protect Arthur and protect him until he claims his crown, because it is his destiny of them, together. They have a destiny together that he will help Arthur. See, my mind is everywhere. To unite the land of Albion, and still to this day, over in Europe, there is a certain part of Europe that is still, I believe it's Europe. I'm horrible. I really need to brush up on my research. That is still a reference to being called Albion. Because Arthur is the once and future king, so he's not just the king for now, but there is a prophecy based on the legends that he will be coming, that he will come back. I mean, I don't know if you will actually believe that King Arthur actually was a real king that actually existed. It's definitely interesting, but I don't know if he actually existed. But the story is still fun to follow anyway, despite if you believe that he actually existed or not. The show is really, really good. Not only is it has a really great cast, we have Colin Morgan who plays Merlin, and we have Bradley James who plays Arthur. We have Angel Kobe who plays Guinevere, and Katie McGarth who plays Morgana. And then we have Anthony Stewart Head who plays Uther. Anthony Head is such a great actor. He plays Giles in Buffy. Great show, great acting, great character all the way around. Now, what's really interesting is we get to see Anthony Head play a tyrant. He is very much a tyrant. He kills people with basically no proof. You know, if he sees you with a sorcerer, oh, you're just dead. You're just guilty. You did horrible things. You know, you're a traitor. I'm just gonna murder you because I don't care, because I'm an asshole. So that's basically his entire mentality. He does change in interesting ways throughout the course of the show, but then again, this will have slight spoilers. Okay, slight spoilers, not big spoilers, because the best part of this show was the unpredictability. I could never have guessed what was going to happen from season to season, episode to episode, and I had to just watch the show and let everything unfold. I think the most intense season of the whole show was season 5, and yeah. I'm also planning on doing season reviews, which, where I will hold up each individual season and review it individually. I probably will be doing that probably sometime in January. And so at the very end of the first episode of this season, Merlin ends up saving Arthur from this evil bitch sorceress who wants revenge because Uther killed her son. So he saves Arthur, and Uther is like, "Oh my gosh, you saved my son!" And so he makes Merlin to have a position in the royal household as Arthur's manservant. Now, in medieval times, for someone to have access to the royal household and be a servant was a great honor back then. To be able to, I mean, servants in medieval times are looked at as like fucking dirt. Literally, they're dirt. You do what you're told to do, and if you don't, you can either get yourself killed or in prison. It was really bad back then. But in this show, like I said, they've changed a few things. I mean, it's still the medieval times. It's still different, and I think a lot of people were very upset that how much it was not like the legends. But I'm like, there's so many different versions of Merlin and Arthur floating around. This just happens to be my favorite one. I've seen a lot of adaptations. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The Disney movie The Sword in the Stone is one of my favorite movies of all time. I actually have it on Blu-ray right over there. Got it for Christmas, actually. So it was just one of my favorite movies, and for me, the show was so great. And so we get to pedal along a lot of the adventures, and of course, when Merlin and neither one of them are happy that Merlin is now his manservant. And I like the first season. The first season is so good because everyone is still really, really young. Like, they look young, and the show is just starting. And by far, I think it's one of the best first seasons of a TV show I think I've ever watched. I mean, there's so many great first seasons. This was a great first season. Charmed season 1 had a great first season. Supernatural had a great first as well. Supernatural's first season was really fucking good, if I had to say so. Smallville's was great. There's just so many, but considering Merlin seasons only have 13 episodes a season, and they are about 40, 43 minutes each. Some are a little bit longer, some are like 45, some are 42, but every episode is at least 40 minutes or longer. And my only complaint about it is it was, for one, it was a BBC series, and I'm just so disappointed that the show didn't get to be. I could have been okay with them having 5 seasons if each season was a little bit longer. But basically, there's not a lot I can tell you about the first season. So much happens because I did just finish this season last night. I've been binge watching it again, and it was really good. But I don't want to spoil everything, and this is meant to be a series review anyway. So in the second season, like, what I loved is there's so much more world building going on in the show, and we get to see a lot of characters change that I didn't expect, a lot of magical creatures, a lot of things about the world that we get to see. A lot of the things from the legends do come into play. We get the Knights of the Round Table is a factor that happens. We get to see Lancelot, which is one of the favorite knights. I love Lancelot. My only problem with it is I liked him so much as a character, and we barely got to see him in the show, and that's what really disappointed me, because he was such a great character, and we didn't get to see him very much, and that made me very, very, very sad, because I wanted to see him more, because I think he's only in 6 episodes of the whole series. And it's really not that much. Merlin made a total of 65 episodes, spanned over 5 seasons, with 13 episodes per season. And for me, I think I could have been okay if each season had 15 episodes instead of 13. It's only 2 more episodes, making each season a little bit longer. But that way, it would have ended with 75 instead of 65. But I'm okay with the episodes I got. I mean, what was interesting is there was a lot of characters that were really, really good. I think my favorite season of the show was season 3. Because it has some of my favorite moments. It was when everything was, the show was, and the show gets a little bit more serious with each passing season. Like, I feel like the first 2 seasons were kind of on the innocent side. Bad things still tended to happen and everything, but it wasn't as, like, it wasn't so serious as the rest of the show. And so that, the show gets a little bit more, there's more character development with each season, there's more world building with each season, there's more seriousness with each season. I don't know I think there's a word, it's just not coming in my head. So it kind of slowly comes this progressive thing throughout the course of each season. And then, season 2, Morgana is struggling to be faithful to Uther, but she also cannot deny that something is happening to her, and that she does have magical powers, and, she does have magic, and Camelot, magic is outlawed, so it really raises quite a bit of stakes. And then in season 3, we get to see things change, and Morgana becomes the evil bitch that she was in the Legends. Sorry if I spoiled that, but come on, I mean, a lot of people don't really know about the show anyway, so I think I can spoil a few things. The show is really, really great. It has awesome... I have to stop saying that, I'm sorry. But this season is my favorite season because it raises so many stakes, and it raises so many things that are quite scary, things that are really nervous and nerve-wracking, and it was just such a intriguing way to develop it. And we get to see some endings. We get to see King Senyard for the first time in this season. We get to see more of Morgause, which is a character that was introduced at the end of the second season. And we get to see a lot of revenge plotting, trying to take over Camelot, twists and turns. There's one twist and turn that happened in this season that I still, to this day, cannot get over every time I rewatch it. To me, I think it was just, to me, the show was like having a TV show version of having a best friend. because whenever I have a bad day, all I have to do is put on an episode, and it makes me feel so much better. And not a lot of shows do that to me. This show just is a fantasy story that I just always tend to latch onto, and I don't want to let it go because it just means the world to me. And I know it means a lot to other people because the show was very popular when it was airing. It aired in BBC, it aired in the US, in Canada, the UK. It did, I think it went over into over 100 countries during the time of the show, which was very impressive. From the very beginning, they said the series was going to be a 5-season run. I really wish that instead of 5, they could have had 6 seasons instead. But, and there are a few things that if it was up to me, I would have actually changed just slightly because the ending of the show is painful, very, very painful. One of my favorite seasons is season 4. Because this is the first season where Arthur becomes king of Camelot. I won't say what happened to Uther because it's spoilers, but I'll let you discover that when you watch the series if you planning on watching the show. It's also probably one of my favorite DVD covers as well. Just to say something random. But it was just a great show that tells true friendship. That as long as you stick to your ideologies and your friendship and your kindness, if you have any, that hopefully things will work out. And I think, it did show that. It showed, that there were so many things in the show that reflected our world now. And even though the ending of the show is so unbelievably heartbreaking, I'm sure you guys have watched the show, or if you have watched it, you know what I mean. It's very, very heartbreaking, and it just rips your soul apart and stomps on it like 5 million times in that one episode. But I loved these characters. Because I've worked it out. There's actually a timeline in the show, and this is what I've worked out. Okay, so at the beginning of season 2, I'm guessing it's been I would say 3-4 months during the first season, maybe. And then when season 2 starts, and I'm guessing it's been a few months in between from where season 1 ended to where season 2 begins. And then after season 2, and then from season 2 to 3, there's been a year. That's one full year that we know of. And then at the end of season 3, and then from 3 to 4, that's been another year. And then after season 4, it's been 3 years. So what do. So we know for a fact, full years of time, it's been 5. So if I had to throw it out there, I would say the show of all 5 seasons spans about 7 full years. 5 we definitely know about. So these 2 over here we don't really know about. That's just what I've kind of planned out. If you guys have more and you guys pay attention to time things, I'm guessing at least 7 years. I think it's been at least 7 years over the course of the show. That's just what I've mapped out as I've watched it so many times. But I know this video wasn't exactly what I was hoping it was to be, but I still think I talked about a lot of the points that I really love about the show, and that it is worth giving a chance. It's still on Netflix in the US, as far as I know. Go out and buy the DVD. I will leave the Amazon page down below if you want to go and get the DVDs. They were cheap. They're $82 for DVD and $120 for Blu-ray. And I want this series on Blu-ray so badly. I'm seriously thinking about getting the Blu-rays. That way I can own them on DVD and Blu-ray with no regret. Yeah. So, yes, the show is fantastic. But I think the show wouldn't be what it was if it didn't have the wonderful dynamic of Arthur and Merlin as characters. Arthur being the prince / king of Camelot, Merlin being the wizard who has to hide who he is. from everybody except for Gaius. And Gaius is another one of my favorite characters of the series. He's such a great character. He's actually the court physician, which, if you don't really know what that means, that's basically, in our terms, that would be a doctor. That's just what they called doctors back then. They weren't called doctors like they are today. Watching the show over and over has made me kind of have this very cynical, very, like, alleged sort of attitude towards the modern world. Like, why do we have social media? Why do we have technology? Why didn't we just stay in the dark age, in medieval times forever? The world would be so much more peaceful, I think, you know. Think about it. If we would have stayed that time, half of the horrible things that happened in history, the bombings, might not have never happened. The Twin Towers may never have been destroyed, and all those people wouldn't have lost their lives. But everyone keeps saying you can't stop progression. Sometimes I really wish that we would have stayed where we were. But then again, if we would have stayed that way, Merlin would have never existed. I never would have gotten to read the books that I have, watch the movies that I have that have helped shape me to who I am. So there's always a reason for everything that we have, and why we have such a modern technology-based world. But it's just something interesting to kind of think about, that, you know, if you could live like this and eat the foods they did, you know, how much maybe healthier a lot of people would be. You know, they wouldn't, you know, fast food and processed foods are unbelievably have taken over the world, at least in the United States. I know it's not like that in other countries, but in the United States, it's very, very bad. So much restaurant, so much fast food, so much processed foods that it just puts incredibly harmful chemicals into your body. And I'll tell you guys more about that tomorrow. It's like a step forward for me. But anyway, besides that, if you loved Merlin, what is your favorite episode? What is your favorite season? I typically I'm trying to figure out my favorite episode of each season. My favorite episode of the first season is The Labyrinth of Gidriff. Season 2, my favorite episode is The Lady of the Lake. Season 3 is my favorite season, so I don't really have a favorite of Season 3. I'll get back to you guys that when I do my season review, and I might have one then. Favorite episode of Season 4? That's really hard. I don't know if I have one. It might be Episode 3, whatever, I don't remember the title of it, but it's at the very end of that episode is when, spoilers, is when Arthur becomes king officially. My favorite episode of Season 5 is Episode 3, called The Death Song of Uther Pendragon. It is such a great episode. In fact, it's probably one of the best episodes of the whole show. Definitely. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm sorry I've been gone for so long, so I think it was overdue that I give you guys a pretty long video. Sorry if I rambled, but I really love the show, and once I do my season reviews, I'll be able to talk about more in-depth things that are pertaining to those particular seasons. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.